we light our chalice to open our reflections today. And as we light this flame, we will hear words by Florence Kaplow. We kindle this flame, honouring the doorways in our souls, the windows through which we gaze at one another, the balconies where we catch glimpses of the sky, the thresholds we stand on today, wondering, hoping, fearing, dreaming. Welcome to this, our 9th midweek reflection from the Sevenoaks Unitarian Meeting House at this time of COVID-19. We meet virtually, taking time out from our routine to stop, to turn our reflection inward, to connect to each other and to our deeper selves. Whether this is your 9th midweek reflection, your first, or somewhere in between, you are very welcome. Welcome today. Now we're coming to the end of Easter. That may sound very strange, and the chocolate eggs have long since disappeared, certainly in our house. But Easter does continue beyond Easter Sunday, all those weeks ago. The festival of Easter rolls on until the end of this month this year. It's a golden 50 days from Easter Sunday to Pentecost. However, we're not there yet, but we are approaching the 40th day. Tomorrow, the 21st of May, is Ascension Day. Now, Ascension Day is not celebrated so greatly here in the UK. It's a much more prominent festival in mainland Europe. But nonetheless, it's a really important part of the Easter story. From the biblical accounts, Ascension is the day that Jesus, having supposedly risen from the dead on the Sunday, ascends into heaven with a white cloud elevator and everything. Now, the biblical story takes place right at the start of the book of Acts, where Luke, who's the accredited author of Acts, where Luke recounts that Jesus had appeared to lots of people after his death, proving he was alive, and he carried on his teachings to his chosen apostles, the 12 disciples. And he tells them that they will be receiving news from the Holy Spirit within a few days. And then at the 40-day point, he asks that each of them bears witness for him in Jerusalem, all over Judea, and as it says in the book, to the ends of the earth. And then he is, at this 40-day point, lifted up, and, the quote goes, a cloud removed him from their sight. Now, it's a strange and miraculous story. It's a story written decades after Jesus died, and I suggest it is not one that was to be taken literally. But instead, it's a story that provides a wonderful visual aid to the apostles and all those that sought to sustain the new church. This is a group of people who were looking for the new beginning. They were looking to move ahead. They needed that permission to just get on with it. And like so many great religious stories, this is a product of people grappling for truth and light and inspiration in time of trouble. Now, whether Christian or not, the story speaks to us all as humans, guiding our way on our path, just as words from so many different traditions can do that. Now, Easter reflects a time when the early followers of Jesus, that great teacher and Jewish rebel, it was a time when they were in absolute meltdown over the capture, arrest, trial and execution of their leader. Having been told he was going to take them to a new promised land, the Roman authorities had dashed their hopes of that new beginning. Now, a few decades on, when the Roman army had again besieged Jerusalem and destroyed the Jewish temple, and when Luke was writing his stories of the apostles for the new church about new beginnings, this need for hope, for possibility, raised its head once more. Now, it's interesting that Luke wrote of the Ascension taking place 40 days after the crucifixion. 40 is a wonderful number in the Bible. It's used in the Jewish scriptures and in the New Testament to symbolize journeys towards something important, and usually a good thing. In the stories we're told, for example, the rains fell for 40 days, when Noah had to build his ark in order to be saved. It was a time to wash away the bad things, prepare for a new beginning. Further on, Moses was said to have lived for 40 years in Egypt, and then 40 years in the desert, before leading the tribes of Israel out of slavery. Moses then spent 40 days on Mount Sinai alone with his God, for 40 days receiving the new rules of the people, the commandments among them. The prophet Elijah walked for 40 days to Mount Horeb, fasted for 40 days before starting public ministry. In the New Testament, the baby Jesus was presented at the temple at 40 days. Before his own public ministry began, Jesus went into the wilderness for, you guessed it, 40 days. So this idea that he ascends into heaven after 40 days says something great is happening here on earth at that point. New beginnings. The literal truth of the story is, for me, unlikely. And as Douglas Adams told us in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the real answer to life is 42, not 40. But that's not the point. This is a story given to those looking to build a new church in an oppressive and dangerous time. To have the importance of their work emphasised by reference to these older stories was important. But what was that story of Ascension really saying if it wasn't a true story? Well, the story is clear that Jesus had supposedly spent 40 days teaching his followers new things, and then made it clear it was up to them to continue. No more talking to the past, no more looking to someone else to provide the answers, no more having your thinking done for you. This was a new beginning, a liberation from the past, with a common cause to bring love and change and fairness and kindness to a people confused, leaderless and scared. Now, new beginnings are our own hope too. None of us know how the risk and threat of coronavirus will play out over the coming weeks, months, potentially years. We know in our own lives changes will need to be made. Living a life where we hope to reduce the risks to ourselves and to others. Yet there is always a time of new beginnings. There is always a light of hope too. The idea of the story in Ascension is that the future lies within us, not in some external teacher. The future lies within each of us. And it's through our individual and our collective effort that the world can emerge in a better way. We are being told very clearly the future lies within us. Let us come together now in a time of quiet and of stillness, becoming aware of our surroundings, feeling our connection to the place we sit and its connection to the wider world. We are on a threshold. We are at a place of new beginnings. This time of stillness and silence allows us to reflect on the way ahead, on the next steps we might take. As we settle our bodies, perhaps closing our eyes, focusing on our breath, I shall strike the singing bowl, and we shall come together in stillness and silence. That stillness will be broken by music to continue our reflections. As we settle our bodies, reflecting on our own new beginnings. We remember the thresholds we stand on today, wondering, hoping, fearing, dreaming.